We want to make the headshot look good. So let's edit it. We can transform it by changing its size, of course. But before we do any of that, let's change the crop because I got a lot of dead space over here and on the top. So I go to the clip editor options. I click on crop. And from these sliding controls here, I'm going to take out some of that dead space. So it's really just going to be my head. I'm going to pull a little bit out on both sides here. I want to keep the fish tank in there a little bit. So, but I still want it to be kind of square. And I might even not have to get rid of that entirely here. So I want to keep it square and then come down from the top quite a bit and get rid of that ceiling shot. Okay, so really it's pretty square and my head is in the center of this clip. Okay, so that's good. Now go back to transform here and let's make sure the size is correct. Okay, so good sizing is going to depend on the content that you have on your screenshot behind it, but generally speaking, in one of the corners, okay, lower or upper, you get to pick whatever's going to make the most sense for your project. I'm going to go with lower right. So all of my other things here, all of my other editing options are going to stay the same. I'm not going to change anything here, except I wanted to crop the headshot and then transform it and place it in the layout where it makes the most sense. After you've recorded the webcam and the screen together, I did this before I chopped up the clip, because if I do it now, anywhere on the clip, the headshot's already moved and it stays in one spot. If I chop it up first, then I got to go back and change everything individually, and that would take a very long time. So do your picture-in-picture shot first, and then go back and cut out whatever you don't need. First thing to do is to set your track height to the largest setting. This will open up the audio visualization and you can see where there is talking and no talking. There's lots of ways to edit, but you might want to get rid of the dead times first. So you see how I'm bringing my marker here to the beginning of that very long quiet time. And then I'm going to make my cut. Now I have to select both tracks, track 1 and 2, the webcam and the screen, so that I can keep everything in sync. I have to do both at the same time. How do I do it? I select them both. I click and I drag up to get both. And once they're both highlighted, I can then make my cut, and it cuts through both of the 2 tracks. Now I'm going to cut this part here too to end that quiet time. Just give me a little bit of buffer there that I can do a fine tuning later. But once again, I have to select both and then make the cut. All right. And then you can see here that I have this dead spot here. There's no voice at all. I'm going to get rid of them. Again, select them both, and then I can just hit delete, and then they're gone. Now I want to move these 2 together, move them at the same time, select them both, and drag them over. Now it will be a smooth flow without these dead times. Once you cut off the major dead points, it's time to start actually editing your video. To do that, set your marker at the beginning and come down and change the timeline view and stretch that out so you can actually see. Now, the more you stretch it out, the better your visualization is going to be. And then you can start to make cuts at very, very distinct levels. Right after the end of a word, you can cut out single words if you want. You just have to get used to the idea of cutting these things very closely. All right, so I listened to the first 18 seconds of it. It sounds like I want to keep this. So what do? I select them both and make the cut, and I know that I'm going to keep this section. Now this next 15 seconds or so, I'm going to listen to and see if I want it or not. I know that I don't want to use this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I'm going to listen to the whole thing and decide, oh, I want this. I don't want that. So let's say this section here, it's no good. I have to make decisions. I need to cut it down to 1 minute. I got to start cutting things. If it doesn't help the project, get rid of it. I'm going to select them both, make a cut, select them both, delete, select them both, and move them over. Okay, so I went through my whole video and I cut just the best parts. Just as a reminder here, I want to edit in full view, okay, because I can see everything way better when I edit in full view. If I want to add anything else, I can add a track. For instance, maybe I want to put in some text And I'll add that track there, and then I can go up to text and I can start bringing down some text, and I can drop it here or there, wherever it's going to help my content communicate. I can also put in transitions or any other features that I want. I can see here that I do have some gaps here. So I may go back and cut those out because I don't want to waste 1 single second for my audience. So I'm going to cut it down as closely as I can. Maybe I can get this down. And if I'm going to go back and watch it, I might watch this thing about 10 times just to find out the spots where I can cut. If it doesn't help, it's gone.